You are listening to the story. I am the real heiress, but I only want to destroy this wealthy family. When I returned to the wealthiest tycoon's home, my parents were indifferent, my brother contemptuous, and the fake daughter openly hated me. But I didn't care. After all, I didn't come here to fit in, I came to shatter this family. When the magnate Manchial Song arrived at the police station to pick me up, I was hiding behind Officer Lee. A female officer beside him handed a stack of documents to Manchial Song. "Mr. Song, this is your daughter, Yi Song, who went missing 12 years ago. We've matched the DNA. She was kidnapped to the mountain behind the village, and when she escaped, she coincidentally met Mr. Lee here. Mr. Lee brought her straight to us." Manchial Song, agitated, gripped Officer Lee's hand. Thank you for your kindness." Mrs. Song pulled me away from Officer Lee, embracing me amidst her tears. "Little Yi, is it really you, little Yi? My daughter, how did you end up like this?" I pretended to flinch, struggling and retreating towards Officer Lee. Don't hit me. Why, don't hit me anymore," I feigned terror. Mrs. Song immediately panicked. "Little Yi, it's Mama. I sobbed as I spoke. Those people also said they were my parents, but they beat me every day." Mrs. Song looked at me with pity, carefully approaching. "Little Yi, we are your real parents. We will never hit you." I turned to look at Officer Lee, feigning helplessness. Officer Lee patted my head. "Good girl, Yi, these are your real parents. Trust them." I nodded meekly, softly calling Mrs. Song, Mama. Mrs. Song immediately hugged me, sobbing. "Come home with us. We will surely treat you well." My voice filled with worry. "Officer Lee, good Yi, Officer Lee will visit me sometimes." With that, Officer Lee looked up and asked, "Mr. Song, is that all right? After all, Manchial Song is at the police station. He can't refuse a visitation request." "Of course," Manchial Song replied. "Mr. Lee is welcome to visit any time." I smiled happily. Thank you, Father." I turned, exchanging a silent, knowing glance with Officer Lee and the female officer. Then I suddenly pointed towards two people embracing in the distance. "Mama, is that my brother and his girlfriend? I've seen it before. The big brother in the village and his wife used to hug like that." Mrs. Song looked flustered. "That's your brother and your younger sister, Wen Song. Yuan Song, come here quickly. Have you forgotten your little sister?" Yuan Song held Wen Song tightly, looking at me with undisguised disgust. "She's not my sister. My only sister is Wen Wen." My eyes immediately welled up and a tear rolled down my cheek. "Really? So I'm the only one who remembered my parents? You already have a new daughter, don't you? So I'm just an outsider?" I was gambling. Gambling that Manchial Song wanted to use me for a marriage alliance. After all, my value and Wen Song's were different. Manchial Song and I shared the same blood. Sure enough, Mrs. Song's eyes immediately reddened. No, how could you be an outsider?" Manchial Song also spoke up to explain. "Wen Song was just someone we picked up." I looked up, choking back sobs. So is that my brother's girlfriend then?" I saw my brother and her hugging very tightly. Manchial Song frowned, turning to look at the two tightly embracing figures. Outsiders would surely mistake them for a couple. Manchial Song immediately kicked Yuan Song, but pointed at Wen Song and said, "You better live properly. My son has to marry a daughter from a prestigious family." Wen Song's face turned pale. Yuan Song hastily shielded Wen Song behind him. "Old man, why are you scolding Wen? What does she have to do with this?" I pulled Manchial Song. "So, Father, should we help Sister Wen Song find her real parents? I really understand the feeling of not meeting your real parents." I lowered my head and cried, but Mrs. Song unusually refuted loudly. "No need." Everyone looked up at Mrs. Song. I tilted my head. "Mama, do you know where Sister Wen Song's real parents are?" Mrs. Song was a little tense, her eyes occasionally darting to the right, stammering, "No, I'm not sure." Manchial Song narrowed his eyes, scrutinizing Mrs. Song. Wen Song, seeing the situation was not good, immediately ran in front of Manchial Song. "Father, Mother, now that you've found your real daughter, are you going to send me away? But I've been with you for 12 years. I only recently found out that I'm not your biological daughter. Is it just because of that?" Mrs. Song hastily pulled Wen Song into her arms. Wen, we're not sending you away. You're our daughter too. The Song family is your home." Wen Song turned to look at me, full of resentment, but I hid behind Manchial Song. Manchial's song just happened to catch Wen Song's gaze. Perhaps because there were still outsiders, Manchial's song said nothing more and directly led everyone out of the police station. I turned and waved goodbye to Officer Lee. He winked at me, giving me a signal. I blinked back, then turned and left. As soon as we arrived at the Song family home, Mrs. Song led me upstairs. "Yi Song, you'll stay here from now on." I stopped outside the door. "Mama, this isn't my room." Mrs. Song was a little flustered. She probably didn't expect me to remember everything clearly after being away for 12 years. I glanced at Wen Song, who was secretly pulling Yuan Song's hand not far away. Yuan Song immediately angrily yelled at me, "Yi Song, don't be so unreasonable." I couldn't help but sneer inwardly, but on my face was a look of hurt. Did I say something wrong? This really isn't my room. The female officer asked me earlier, and I told her the room I used to live in had a very large window, where the sun shone in every morning, unlike later when I was always woken up by a stick. Mrs. Song felt a little guilty, but not much. "Yi Song, your room is where Wen lives now. You're the elder sister, so it's right for you to yield to your younger sister, okay?" I lowered my head and said nothing. Manchial Song was somewhat displeased with Mrs. Song's words, letting out a cold snort. "What elder sister and younger sister? Let me tell you, Wen Song, you'd best put those petty thoughts away and stop eyeing our Song family. Even if Yi Song is like you, eventually she'll have to marry into an alliance, but let me tell you, Yi Song is still different from you." Wen Song was moved downstairs. Yi Song stays here. I smiled silently. My gamble was right. Bloodline truly is a miraculous thing. Even in Manchial Song's eyes, both Wen Song and I were tools for marriage alliances, but he still distinguished between us. However, bloodline alone wasn't enough. I still had to let Manchial Song see my value to turn this situation around. The bedroom was quickly tidied. I looked around, then walked straight out onto the balcony. Honestly, I had long forgotten what my old bedroom looked like, but I remembered this bedroom was next to the study. I glanced at the study's balcony next door, silently estimating the distance. The next morning, I deliberately woke up a little later. When I came downstairs, the Song family was already seated at the dining table, preparing to eat breakfast. Perhaps Mrs. Song and Yuan Song had tried to persuade Wen Song last night. Today, Wen Song was like a peacock flaunting itself. "Sister, you're so lucky, sleeping alone and making the whole family wait for breakfast." I hastily apologized. "I'm sorry, I've finally come back to be with father and mother. It's rare to get such a good night's sleep. Usually I'm always woken up." Wen Song was a little angry and wanted to argue with me, but Manchial Song next to her cut her off. "Yi Song, come quickly and eat." Manchial Song placed the only bowl of bird's nest in front of me, then turned to instruct Mrs. Song. "Lately, you must take good care of Yi Song, whiten her skin and so on, don't forget." Mrs. Song obediently responded. Wen Song was extremely dissatisfied. She picked up an abalone. "Sister, you've never eaten such good food, have you?" Yuan Song interjected at just the right moment. "HMPH, that country bumpkin, how could she eat something like this?" I nodded, not feeling ashamed at all. "It's true, I've never eaten it, because for the past 12 years, I haven't had breakfast to eat." One sentence made Manchial Song and his wife immediately feel guilty towards me. Mrs. Song hastily heaped all sorts of pastries onto my plate. "My daughter, you've suffered. Eat a lot." I responded one by one, obediently thanking Mrs. Song. Manchial Song looked at my clothes, a little displeased. "Yi Song, why are you still wearing yesterday's clothes?" I put down my chopsticks, clutching the corner of my shirt. "There are no clothes for me in the bedroom." Manchial Song angrily slammed his hand on the table, pointing at Mrs. Song and questioning, "Why did you prepare things like this? I told you to do such a small thing, and you can't even get it done." Mrs. Song looked a little flustered, glancing at the faded t-shirt I was wearing. "Isn't it? I prepared everything already. Didn't I tell the store to send it directly?" I glanced at Wen Song next to me. Her previous arrogant expression had disappeared, replaced by a hint of panic. I smiled. "Father, mother, it's all right. Perhaps my sister forgot to bring them over when she moved rooms yesterday." Yuan Song was the first to shout. "Do you think Wen is a country bumpkin like you, having to nitpick over every little thing for some ragged clothes?" I pursed my lips, lowering my head and saying nothing more. For Yuan Song, I couldn't retort him yet. At least for now, Yuan Song was still the son Manchial Song valued most. But the relationship between Wen Song and Yuan Song could definitely give me a hand. Wen Song's panicked expression, of course, did not escape Manchial Song's eyes. How could that old fox, Manchial Song, not understand Wen Song's petty thoughts? He let out a soft snort, warning Wen Song, "Didn't you hear what I said yesterday? If you don't understand, I don't mind marrying you off to old Mr. Zai's crippled son." If the situation hadn't been so inappropriate, I would have applauded right there. This family truly had no normal person from top to bottom. When Song was stunned, a tear welling up and threatening to fall. Yuan Song immediately shielded Wen Song, turning to Manchial Song and roaring, "She's my sister, she's your daughter. My daughter must know how to be a daughter-in-law to 100 families. Moreover, she's not my biological child. She's enjoyed a comfortable life in the Song family for 12 years, so she should know how to repay the family." I wanted to laugh a little but managed to suppress it. I turned and went back to my room first, but unexpectedly, through the small balcony outside the room, I saw Wen Song and Yuan Song. They were boldly hiding in the garden, passionately kissing. Impressive, indeed. Tusk, but these two are definitely a tragedy waiting to happen. As I thought this, I casually snapped a picture of them kissing. As I lay stretched out on my bed, I reconsidered Manchial Song's words. Must know how to be a daughter-in-law to 100 families. On the surface, it seemed he was talking to Wen Song, but in reality, he was also talking to me. I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. Who said I had to stay in the Song family for life? Manchial Song truly thought too highly of himself. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Opening it, I was surprised to see Wen Song standing in front of me. Wen Song tossed her hair, pushing me into the bedroom. "Yi Song, don't think you're so great just because Manchial Song is backing you. This house will be mine someday." I found it a little funny. "Sister, but we both have to marry someone, right? What's the difference?" "HMPH, who says I'm like you? I'm going to be my brother's wife." "Oh, does that mean you already knew you weren't a biological daughter? But didn't you say you only just found out?" I asked, piercing straight to Wen Song's core. She immediately reached out and pushed me. "Whether you know or not, what does it have to do with me?" I went with the flow, falling backward. The bedside lamp next to me was also knocked to the ground, creating a loud noise. I hit the edge of the nightstand and my forehead felt wet. I touched it was blood. The wound wasn't large, but it looked scary. I smiled with satisfaction, then let out a heart-wrenching scream. The loud noise attracted the 3 members of the Song family. As soon as they entered, I hastily retreated into a corner, hugging myself tightly. "No, don't hit me anymore." The smile on Wen Song's face hadn't even faded, turning into a horrified expression as she looked at the 3 people standing at the door. Manchial Song walked straight up and slapped Wen Song. "Wen Song, didn't you hear what I just said?" "No, father, it wasn't me. Yi Song, she fell herself." Brother Yuan Song immediately shielded Wen Song. "Wen said Yi Song fell herself. Why are you hitting her?" Manchial Song pointed at Yuan Song, too furious to speak. Seeing that Wen Song was about to escape blame again, I kindly explained for her. "Father, perhaps my sister was afraid that I would take you and mama and brother away, so she did something so extreme. Sister, I didn't come here to destroy this family, I came to be a part of it. Father, if it's not possible, why don't you marry my sister to my brother? After all, they're already so deeply in love." Manchial Song frowned. "What nonsense are you talking about? They're siblings." I pretended not to understand. "But brother also really likes sister, doesn't he? Otherwise, why would he kiss her?" I took out the secretly taken photo and handed it to Manchial Song. He glanced at it, so angry that he pulled Wen Song out from behind Yuan Song and gave her another slap. "I raised you to marry into an alliance, not to seduce my son." Manchial Song's rage was uncontrollable. Seeing Yuan Song still wanting to argue for Wen Song, he yelled directly at Yuan Song's face. "Shut up right now, get out of the country tomorrow." I quietly hid in the corner, watching the drama unfold between the 4 of them. Manchial Song's decision wouldn't change. Yuan Song would definitely have to go. And when Mrs. Song heard Yuan Song had to go abroad, she, surprisingly, breathed a sigh of relief. As soon as the drama ended, everyone naturally dispersed. After ushering Wen Song to her room, Mrs. Song came to my room. She looked at the wound on my forehead with a hint of guilt. Yisong, when is your sister? Yield to her a little. She just values family too much and is afraid we won't need her. I bowed my head and cried, large tears falling onto my hand. Mama, I'm the one who's hurt. Why are you blaming me? Mrs. Song calmly said, You're the elder sister. Of course you should yield to your younger sister. I haven't yielded, I even yielded my brother. But Mama also doesn't allow sister and brother to be together. Why is that? Mrs. Song's face immediately turned cold and she gripped my hand tightly. Do you know something? I feigned confusion. What are you talking about, Mama? I just came home. What could I possibly know? Mrs. Song stared at me, and seeing no hint of guilt in me dispelled the doubt in her heart. In short, when is your sister? You, as the elder sister, must yield to her. I laughed pathetically, then screamed in pain. Mrs. Song was flustered. I took the opportunity to push her out of the room. When Mrs. Song's footsteps gradually faded, I immediately stopped crying. I coldly wiped the tears from my face. Yield, HMPH, so does she want me to yield all 6 years of being treated like a dog abroad to her too? That day, I wasn't lost. I was kidnapped by Manchial Song's enemies. When I woke up, I was already abroad, a chaotic place without laws. Other children were also kidnapped. Besides me, a child, everyone else was a girl around 20 years old. I heard them say that while traveling, they were drugged, and when they woke up, they were here. Those criminals spoke broken Chinese, telling us to contact our families for ransom, otherwise we would be sold. But I didn't call. I said I had no family. Fortunately, I was too young, even selling me wouldn't fetch much money. So they treated me like a dog, ordering me around as their minion. If they were happy, they'd take me out for a walk. If not, they'd lock me straight in a cage. Those devils poured food directly onto the ground, making us eat like dogs. Many people brought here couldn't pay their ransom and were sold off. Those with attractive looks were sold into entertainment venues to make a profit for them. Those who weren't attractive, their organs also fetched a considerable price. Every day, someone died, and every day, new people arrived. I somehow barely survived in that environment for 6 years, until I waited for the person I had always been waiting for. An undercover police officer came to rescue us. I didn't hesitate to become an informant for the police, assisting them in breaking up several human trafficking gangs. Afterwards, we followed the clues, eventually leading us back to the domestic scene. The first name that caught my eye was the Song family. That's why I pretended to escape from the mountains and return to the Song family. I came to claim my first-class labor medal. Yuan Song was sent abroad, and when Song was also strictly confined, only allowed in her own room. No matter how much Wen Song pleaded with Mrs. Song, she wouldn't budge on this matter. Manchial Song took this opportunity to go on a business trip. Officer Lee came once, talked in my room for half an hour, then left. Officer Lee wasn't actually the kind, helpful citizen as rumored. He was with the police, in contact with me. In the middle of the night, when everyone had fallen asleep, I changed my clothes and climbed straight from my bedroom balcony to the adjacent room's balcony. After securing the mini-camera, Officer Lei gave me in the corner of the window and adjusting it to an angle that could clearly see inside, I quickly returned to my bedroom. Everything remained peaceful for a while. Manchial Song returned, and when Song was also allowed out of her room. Manchial Song brought gifts back for us. Mine was an expensive set of skincare products. When Song also received cosmetics, but several grades lower. When Song felt utterly wronged. Mama, did I do something wrong? Why is sister's so much better and mine so much worse? Is it because I'm not your biological daughter? I secretly rolled my eyes, handing my set over, gently comforting her. Sister, just take my set and use it, I don't need it. When Song didn't even look, clinging to Mrs. Song. Mama, can you buy me a good set? Mrs. Song was helpless. All right, I'll buy it for you right away. Whatever ye has, our Wen must also have. When Song provocatively looked at me, wanting to show off her importance in Mrs. Song's heart, I smiled, looking at them, not caring at all. Seeing that Manchial Song had returned to his study, I immediately went back to my bedroom and pulled out the tablet connected to the camera from under the bed. Unfortunately, Manchial Song had no special activity in the study. I sighed. What I needed wasn't at the Song family home. It seemed I had to change my plan. When Wen Song came looking for me, I was applying cream. She arrogantly held up a set of cosmetics identical to mine, showing off in front of me. See, Mama bought it for me. I casually chuckled. I see it. My reaction angered Wen Song. Don't get too smug too soon. I looked at the furious Wen Song through the mirror, quietly putting down my cream. Sister, I have some things to do. I can't chat with you anymore. After seeing her out, I started pondering something. Recently, Manchial Song's company seemed to be having problems. He was in his study day and night, and his assistant kept sending him many documents. How could I get involved in the company's affairs? The next morning, when Manchial Song's assistant came to retrieve documents, I deliberately took a few financial reports while he wasn't paying attention, pretending he had dropped them. The reports looked very thorough at first glance. I couldn't find any loopholes. I immediately contacted Officer Lee. After going out for a while, I found a few extremely subtle errors in the reports, then went upstairs to find Manchial Song. As soon as I opened the study door, I handed him the report. Father, your report fell on the dining table. Manchial Song took the report, casually flipping through it. Seeing my annotations, he looked at me with great surprise. Did you fix all these? I nodded, sweetly smiling at Manchial Song. Yes, Father, I don't even know where the mistakes are. I just tried to fix them, I don't know if they're right. Manchial Song was astonished, flipping through the report several times. He looked up at me, pursed his lips, and pondered for a moment before saying, "You can go out first." I smiled in response and returned to my bedroom. The bedroom still looked as neat as when I left, but I found a few strands of hair I had hidden in a discreet spot, and the strand of hair under the cream jar had fallen to the ground. It seemed Wen Song had touched this jar. I let out a cold laugh, carefully wiping the fingerprints off the jar. That evening, I didn't have to wait for Manchial Song. I waited for Wen Song first. A piercing scream came from Wen Song's bedroom. As soon as I opened my door, I saw Wen Song running up from downstairs, clutching her face. Mrs. Song rushed out of her bedroom, hurrying to Wen Song's side. Wen, what's wrong? Wen Song sobbed in Mrs. Song's arms. Hick, Mama, my face. Hick, Mama, why have I been so unlucky since she came back? I just used the same kind of cream as her. Why is she fine, but something happened to me? I raised an eyebrow, saying nothing. Mrs. Song looked at me with cold eyes. Yi Song, did you do this? When is your younger sister? Mrs. Song stepped forward, raising her hand to slap me, but I tilted my body and dodged it. I looked a little bewildered. Mama, didn't you buy my sister's cream? Mrs. Song froze, unsure how to answer. I sighed, kindly reminding them, instead of questioning me, you should take my sister to the hospital. Otherwise, if her face gets ruined later, Father will be furious. As soon as Manchial Song was mentioned, both their expressions changed. Mrs. Song hastily helped Wen Song prepare to go downstairs, but Wen Song stopped. Mama, bring the cream jar from my room? I nodded, thoughtfully reminding them, remember to check for fingerprints. It wouldn't be good if someone with ill intentions tried to drive a wedge between you and my sister. Wen Song glared at me fiercely, clutching her face as she and Mrs. Song left for the hospital. After Wen Song left, Manchial Song came out of his study and asked me what had happened. I recounted everything in detail. Manchial Song nodded, but seemed completely unconcerned. He led me into the study and handed me several more reports. I had once been systematically educated in finance because I wanted to be an informant. Coupled with Officer Lee purposefully finding someone to guide me today, I quickly used the same method to uncover hidden problems in these reports. I annotated and revised each report in front of Manchial Song. When the last report was submitted, Manchial Song suddenly asked, "Aren't you from the mountains? How do you know all this?" I subtly lowered my eyes, knowing that the biggest problem had arrived. Lifting my head again, my face showed confusion. What do you mean know or not know? Father, I've studied math. I can see that these things have problems, don't you see? I watched him slowly smile from his initial suspicious look. Good. Ha ha ha, truly my daughter. Yisong, starting tomorrow, you'll intern at the company. I'll invite several tutors to systematically mentor you. Yes, Father, so I'll go back first then? My goal of pretending to be a genius had been achieved. I turned and left. Manchial Song was a businessman. He wouldn't make a losing deal. I showed him my value, and he naturally wanted to cultivate me. From this moment on, I was completely different from Wen Song. I walked straight downstairs and sat in the living room, waiting for Wen Song and Mrs. Song to return. A little later, Wen Song was helped into the house by Mrs. Song, her face bandaged. I chuckled, hurrying forward to greet them. How is sister? Is she better? A girl's beauty is the most important thing. Will it leave a scar? Do you want to tell brother about it? Wen Song was furious. Yi Song, I'll see how you explain yourself when the test results come out. I smiled and walked straight to the sofa. Then let's wait together. Very quickly, the test results were sent to the Song family home that very night. The butler glanced at the results, then looked at Wen Song as if he wanted to speak but hesitated. Madam, a large amount of sulfuric acid was found in the cream, but there are some fingerprints of yours on the jar, probably from when you picked up the cream. The rest are all young Miss Wen's fingerprints. How can this be? When Song stood up from the sofa in shock, I clearly wiped it. I softly laughed. Sister, what did you clearly wipe? Wiped off the fingerprints. Did my sister want to harm me and ended up picking up the wrong jar? No, no way, I clearly saw you using it. When Song immediately regretted speaking, covering her mouth, looking at me in fear. The truth of the matter was now abundantly clear. I silently pressed stop on the voice recorder in my pocket, stood up, and prepared to go upstairs. Mrs. Song called me back. I took a deep breath, slowly turned around, and smiled awkwardly. Mama, is something wrong? Mrs. Song clutched Wen Song tightly, lying through her teeth. This is just a childish squabble. Yi Song, you're the older sister, you should be magnanimous. I smiled knowingly, but the smile didn't reach my eyes. Of course, as long as my sister doesn't keep wasting her time on me, it's fine. I turned and went upstairs, my eyes gradually turning cold. She still loves Wen Song after all. She can even call the sulfuric acid incident a childish squabble. But in my previous life, when I was hit with sulfuric acid, I wasn't so lucky. That's right, I've been reborn. In my previous life, I wasn't so lucky. I didn't become an informant for the police, but lived in destitution abroad for many years, finally rescued by the police and taken straight back to the Song family home. I thought the Song family would still be as I remembered from my childhood. But as soon as I returned home, I was greeted by an impatient brother, cold parents, and a suddenly appearing younger sister. Manchial Song still focused on my appearance, telling Mrs. Song to take good care of me. And I, longing for family affection, carefully tried to win over the Song family, silently enduring Wen Song's bullying and insults. Yet, Wen Song poured sulfuric acid into my cream, ruining my face. At that time, Mrs. Song didn't pity me as she pitied Wen Song, but directly moved me from the second floor down to the utility room on the first floor. Because my face was ruined, Manchial Song abandoned me. In the Song family, I was treated like a maid, and after I grew up, Manchial Song casually threw me to business partners, where I was tortured to death. I was reborn at the moment I was kidnapped abroad. Living again, I worked hard to become an informant for the police, collaborating with them to dismantle many fraud gangs. Thanks to that, I was protected by the police after returning to the country. After returning, I didn't immediately go back to the Song family because I hadn't figured out how to take revenge on them. I chose to live alone, but when the police investigated a case, it happened to involve the Song family. So I voluntarily ventured into the lion's den once more, just to help the police obtain direct evidence and take revenge on them at the same time. I pretended to be a child who escaped from the mountains, coincidentally meeting the kind citizen, Officer Lee. Together with the female officer, the three of us put on a play in front of the 4 members of the Song family, just to get the most crucial evidence from the Song family. As for Wen Song, in this life, her face was ruined, which I consider a gift back to her. I hope she likes it. I started interning at Song Corporation, working from the lowest level. After returning home, I also had to face the tutors Manchial Song arranged for me to teach me systematically. It was a month later when Yuan Song learned that Wen Song's face had been ruined. It wasn't that I deliberately prevented Yuan Song from contacting Wen Song, but because of Yuan Song himself. As soon as he went abroad, he lived a completely indulgent life, with wine and beautiful women every day. His childhood sweetheart sister, he had long forgotten her entirely. When Yuan Song returned to the country, the first person he sought out was me. I wasn't surprised at all. Yuan Song stood in my office, scolding me for a while, swearing he would punish me. I wasn't angry, I even smiled. What did Wen Song tell you? Yuan Song was stunned, a little surprised by my reaction. She said you were jealous because she used the same cream, so you poured sulfuric acid into her cream. Yi Song, you're truly vicious, I sneered, directly taking out the voice recorder and playing it. The more he listened, the paler Yuan Song's face became. Yuan Song staggered back 2 steps, hastily shaking his head. This must be fake, you must have edited the audio. I was too lazy to pay attention to Yuan Song anymore and directly called someone to escort Yuan Song out. Early the next morning, Manchial Song rarely stayed home for breakfast, but when Song and Yuan Song hadn't arrived yet, I had a suspicion. Mama, why hasn't my sister come down for breakfast yet? It's not good to make father wait for her. Mrs. Song's face stiffened. She quickly got up and went to knock on Wen Song's door. When, hurry up and get up for breakfast. When? Mrs. Song, seeing no reaction from Wen Song, directly twisted open the door. When, Mama's coming in, okay? Manchial Song and I were eating and turned to look. What's wrong? Mrs. Song's face was full of anguish as she pointed into the room. I quickly got up to look. Good heavens, I almost vomited everything I had just eaten. On the bed were a man and a woman, stark naked, entangled together, and the people on the bed were none other than Yuan Song and Wen Song. Mrs. Song went crazy, rushing forward to separate Yuan Song and Wen Song. 2 sharp slaps directly woke Wen Song up. Wen Song, how dare you do this? This is your brother. Yuan Song was awakened by the noise beside him. Seeing Mrs. Song about to raise her hand again, Yuan Song immediately hugged Wen Song tightly. We're not biological siblings, so why can't we be together? Manchial Song, who had just arrived, trembled with rage. When did you get back, you scoundrel? As soon as you're back, you look for this ugly Wen Song. Is your vision really that low? Father, Yuan Song angrily roared at Manchial Song. So what if I like Wen Song? I'll tell everyone the truth. We've been together for 3 years. What? Mrs. Song, standing nearby, heard this news and immediately fainted from anger. I quickly called the butler to take Mrs. Song to the hospital. Manchial Song, full of murderous intent, directly kicked Yuan Song. I'm asking you, do you want to be with her? Yes. Manchial Song let out a cold laugh. Ah, all right then. Then you two can be together. I'll make it happen for you. The smile that had just bloomed on Yuan Song, and when Song's faces froze at Manchial Song's next words. You two get out of my house immediately. When Song was the first to react, crawling to Manchial Song's feet. Father, don't kick us out. Manchial Song directly pushed Wen Song away and ordered his men to throw Wen Song and Yuan Song out of the house. I hastily followed Manchial Song, pleading for them. Father, he's still your son after all, and I'll be married off anyway. Manchial Song roared like thunder. He doesn't even acknowledge me as his father, and you want him to inherit the company? I scoff. If I let him take control, the company will collapse in no time. Manchial Song turned to look at me, asking about my recent company situation. I recounted it to him in detail. Manchial Song was extremely satisfied. Then tomorrow, you'll be the financial director. I smiled, happily accepting this arrangement. After Mrs. Song regained consciousness and learned that Yuan Song and Wen Song had been kicked out, she almost fainted again. Back home, every time Mrs. Song saw me, she would scold me. It's all your fault. It's all because of this wicked woman. You chased away my son and daughter. I looked at her coldly. Mama, it wasn't me who made them fall in love. Besides, you also opposed them being together. Mrs. Song was a bit speechless, and due to her guilty conscience, she quickly tried to separate Yuan Song and Wen Song. She arranged a small apartment for Wen Song near the Song family home and personally took Yuan Song abroad. These were all things Officer Lee mentioned when he visited me. Over a year passed. I had found quite a lot of evidence related to Song Corporation's finances, but I still couldn't access anything related to overseas matters. I found an informant to coordinate, causing several financial employees working on overseas projects to encounter various problems. Manchial Song was short-staffed and finally came to me. He handed me a stack of contracts. Recently, there's an overseas cooperation project. Take a look. I stabilized my emotions, carefully reviewed them, then looked up and told Manchial Song, Father, I don't understand this area very well, and I'm not familiar with the past situation. Manchial Song was silent for a long time, eventually handing me a key. The documents from several years ago are all at the western suburb villa. I'll have someone take you there later. I nodded. No wonder I couldn't find any related documents in Song Corporation. They were all at the western suburb villa. I went there several times, but each time I wasn't allowed to take anything away. I also had to immediately return the key to Manchial Song when I came back. So I got a soft mold and copied a key. And during my several visits to the western suburb villa to review the documents, I finally learned that what I had experienced in 2 lives was only the tip of the iceberg. Manchial Song was not only involved in overseas phone scams, but also in human trafficking and organ trafficking. I handed the copied key to Officer Lee. They quickly obtained the core documents. "Yisong, you can make your move now," I smiled. The grand net that took years to cast could finally be closed. It was time to end it, so let's do something big. Recently, Manchial Song intended to hold a party for me, officially introducing my identity to outsiders. I happily agreed and promised to give Manchial Song a surprise gift on the day of the party. Rarely did Manchial Song smile at me, praising me endlessly for being understanding and obedient. I even deliberately leaked the news to Wen Song, knowing she would be furious. To humiliate me, she would definitely appear at this party. The party proceeded as planned. Many guests I had met before. I chatted with them naturally and comfortably. Manchial Song's business partners praised me endlessly in front of him, making him beam with pride. When all the guests had arrived, Manchial Song stood at the stair landing, tapping his wine glass. He hadn't even finished his perfunctory remarks when he saw a man and a woman walk in through the main door of the Song family home. I looked closely, and it was Yuan Song and Wen Song. Yuan Song walked in nonchalantly, not caring about Mr. Song's expression. "Father, why didn't you invite me to such an important occasion?" Mr. Song angrily turned his face away, not wanting to see Yuan Song anymore. Yuan Song smiled, pulled Wen Song closer, and said, "Father, calm down. We came here today for you to have a double blessing. Wen is pregnant with my child, father. You're about to become a grandfather." The most surprised person was Mrs. Song. "No, this child must be aborted immediately. Wen Song, do you want to die? Didn't you hear what I said?" I gently swirled my wine glass, looking at the panicked Mrs. Song as she spoke up. "Mama, Wen Song and Yuan Song aren't biologically related after all. Why are you so agitated?" Oh, I paused for a moment, raised my champagne glass, and smiled at Mrs. Song. "Or is it because Wen Song is actually your daughter with another man, which would mean she and Yuan Song are actually half-siblings, sharing the same mother?" "What?" Manchial Song stared at Mrs. Song in shock. Below, the guests also began to whisper amongst themselves. Wen Song looked at her mother in disbelief. "Mama, is this why you absolutely forbade me from being with brother?" No, it's not." Seeing Mrs. Song's frantic denial, how could Manchial Song not understand? "Slap, you hussy, didn't you say she was a child you picked up by the roadside?" Yuan Song looked at Wen Song in shock, then pointed at Mrs. Song, speechless. I softly sighed. Such a melodramatic twist was truly beyond my expectation. Manchial Song turned to look at me, lowering his voice in accusation. "What's wrong with you? Why would you say something like that in front of so many people? The Song family's reputation is completely ruined." I just smiled without answering, then lightly touched the earring on my ear. Officer Lee had given me these earrings earlier. He had told me, "Remember to keep in touch." That alone was enough for me to understand the purpose of these earrings. I tapped my earring. "You can come in now." Manchial Song looked confused. "What can come in now?" Bang, the large door was kicked open, and a group of uniformed police officers walked in. "Mr. Song, you are suspected of involvement in several transnational fraud cases and hundreds of disappearance cases. Please come with us to cooperate with the investigation." Manchial Song panicked, hastily looking at me, who appeared calm as if nothing was happening. "Officers, is there some misunderstanding? I haven't been managing the company recently. Everything has been handled by my daughter, Yisong." Manchial Song hastily motioned to me, speaking loudly. "Yisong, what have you been doing all day? How did you get involved with foreign criminals? How did I raise you? Officers, today I will put righteousness before family. Yisong must have secretly done something bad behind my back. Officers, please take her to the station for investigation quickly." I let out a soft laugh, placed the wine glass in my hand down, and turned to face Manchial Song. Immediately, I pulled out my police badge. "Hello, Mr. Song, please cooperate with our investigation." What? Manchial Song saw the police badge in my hand, his face horrified and stunned. You're a police officer?" I smiled in response. "Sorry, but you're right. The genuine article, unadulterated." Manchial Song's face turned ashen. Mrs. Song, like a mad woman, rushed forward, intending to hit me. "Madam, if you wish to be arrested for resisting arrest, then feel free to strike." Yisong, that's your father." I looked at Mrs. Song coldly, saying nothing more. Then I turned my back, personally handcuffed Manchial Song, and led him away. I looked up at Officer Lee. He nodded, walked straight up to Yuan Song, and pulled out an arrest warrant. Yuan Song, you are suspected of involvement in multiple rape cases, including 9 minors. The evidence is clear. Please come with us. At the western suburb villa, we found quite a lot of evidence. Yuan Song had raped many minor girls, all arranged by his father, Manchial Song. The related documents were casually stored by Manchial Song in the study at the suburban villa. As for Yuan Song's feelings for Wen Song, were they genuine or deceitful? Perhaps only Yuan Song himself knew for sure. I smiled cheerfully at Manchial Song. Well, do you like the grand gift I've prepared for you? The evidence in Yuan Song's case was clear. He was immediately taken to the detention center to await trial. Manchial Song was involved in too many cases. Although we had prepared in advance, we still had to work overtime for several nights. Mrs. Song, however, still didn't give up. She kept waiting for me outside the police station. I sighed, finally deciding to meet her one last time. What do you want? Mrs. Song no longer had her extravagant and glamorous appearance from before. After all, that night, the reputation of the wealthiest family in the country, the Songs, had fallen into an abyss. Mrs. Song, looking haggard, pleaded with me, "Little Yi, can you save Wen Wen?" Wen went crazy after learning the truth and was taken to a mental hospital. She was too agitated and even had a miscarriage. Can you save Wen Wen? Can you get her out so I can take care of her? I beg you. I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. Why should I help her? But she's your sister. I nodded. So what? You're both your daughters, so why do you always favor her so much? I waved my hand, not wanting to hear her meaningless explanations. Mrs. Song, you never raised me, so what right do you have to speak of repayment? Don't come looking for me anymore. I won't see you again. After that, Mrs. Song never came looking for me again. I heard she lingered around the entrance of the mental hospital every day. All of that no longer concerned me. Having been exposed in the Song family case, I was no longer suitable to be an undercover police officer. I withdrew to the rear, continuing to develop my abilities in my field. In the Song family case, thanks to the excellent performance of the entire team, we were finally awarded the first-class labor medal. Those dark, gloomy clouds had finally dispersed. Finally, I could stand in the sunlight,